Hi, welcome to this Excel tutorial video, and today I'm going to do a video on SUMIF and SUMIFS. Now, SUMIF and SUMIFS allows you to add up or sum a set of values based on a given criteria or conditions. The easiest way to kind of show you this is to give you a demonstration. So let's get straight to it. First of all, I'm going to do a simple sum. So here I've got a list of sales. I've got some months sales here, and I've got offices and types of sales and the cost of items that were sold. So let's say I want to just do the sum of all of my May sales. I can just do equals sum, and I highlight that, and I press enter, and there is the sum. A nice easy sum. But let's imagine I wanted only to sum the values that were greater than 80, as an example. You might not want it might be a silly example, but just an example. So let's do a SUMIF equals SUMIF. So what SUMIF expects is a range and a criteria, and we've also got this sum range here. It needs a range, it needs a criteria. The sum range is optional. So in this example, we're dealing with this column here, which is a column of numbers. That's going to be our range. So we'll say equals, the range is going to be this. And our criteria has got to be in square brackets, in double quotes rather. And we say greater than 80. And we'll leave it at that. And we get a total here. And that's the total of everything in here where the number is greater than 80. And nice and simple, but let's look at another example. So let's imagine we want to do a sum of everything from May where the item sold was a fruit. So if we do equals SUMIF, now this is where things are a little bit different. So in the original SUMIF, we said this column greater than 80. What we're saying here is where this column is fruit, then do some sort of the sum of this. So because our range and condition comes first, our range is going to be this, and the condition or the criteria is going to be the word fruit. But we can't add this up because it's letters. So now we've got this third option, which is sum range, and we can say this is the range that we want to sum if the criteria, if the type is fruit. If we press enter, we'll get a different value. The easiest way to kind of prove that this is working is to do this example here and say equals SUMIF this range. If it equals Middlesbrough, then sum this column. We get 549, and if I were to highlight those here, it equals 549. So going back to this one, we had a range, we had a criteria, and because we didn't give it this final optional sum range, it assumed the range is the range that we want to sum. So it said, oh, you're looking at this and you want greater than 80, I will tell you the sum of the values in here greater than 80. Because here we're working with these words, fruit and Middlesbrough, in a different column, we've got to begin with that. We tell it what the criteria is, and then we've got to tell it which range of numbers we want to sum if this is true. Now, what if we wanted to do more than one criteria? What if we wanted to say, I want you to sum the values if it's the office of Middlesbrough and a type of fruit? Well, what we can use is this SUMIFs. So let's begin first of all with just Middlesbrough. So if we do SUMIFs, what SUMIFs says is, what I need is the range you want me to sum, the numbers that you're interested in summing here, which is this range here. Then it says, I want now to know the criteria and any criteria that you want me to kind of filter on. So if I do a comma, we've got our first criteria, range 1, which is going to be this. And then if we do another comma, we've got our criteria for number 1, which is going to be Middlesbrough. So with SUMIFs, this first bit here is the range, the numbers that you want to sum. Anything beyond that is criteria. And criteria come in two parts. One is the column that you're interested in, and the next bit is the criteria for that column. So let's say we've got Middlesbrough there, and it matches that, so we know it works. Let's add fruit to it. So, kind of cheating a little bit, I'm going to copy what we already have. So we've done our criteria range 1, now criteria 1. Now if I do a comma, it now says, all right, what's the next criteria? Number 2. Well, number 2 is this column. That's the range. And our criteria is fruit. Now we get this value. So Middlesbrough and fruit. So if I just do that and that and that and that, our sum is 409, and we can see that's the value you see in there, 409. Now let's say we're interested in Middlesbrough fruit, where the cost of the fruit is greater than 25 in this value here. So we can say, I want to copy this again, so I'm not typing everything again. Here. If I just go between this, the end and the bracket, if I put a comma, it now says, oh, we're on to a third criteria. What's the range? The range is this, and then comma, what's the criteria? The criteria is greater than 25. Now we've got 319. Now I can see that is not greater than 25. That is, and that is. So those three, Middlesbrough fruit, greater than 25 rather, add up to 319, and we can see 319 there. And just to kind of prove that a little bit, if I change apple to be 30 rather than 25, well, everything in all the fruit are greater than 25, greater than 30, so we get the same value as that. If I put it back to 25, hold on. If I then change the banana maybe to be 20, then suddenly that value drops because the banana is no longer greater than 25, so it's not part of this. And all we get is the result of those two, which is 224. I hope that makes sense. Any questions or queries, please let me know. Otherwise, thank you as always for your time. See you next time.